Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the Fernicus.
Say what?
Charette.
DOC to the single G. What's up, sir?
Living,
yeah.
man. You know, doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Enjoying things, trying to at least. What's happening with you?
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm loving life. I'm like an 8.5 out of 10 today, Doc G. It's been a while since I gave you a rating, but that's where I'm at in life.
I've never
pretty
been
good.
there. That sounds like a good place to be. That's nice.
B+.
So true.
Mike, I want to talk about something important.
Okay.
We talk about important stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, sometimes.
We talked about the Illuminati getting invited.
Yeah.
We've talked about the high points of bidets.
Jeez.
Benefits of guard llamas.
Mm-hmm.
We don't dodge difficult subjects, Mike.
Nope.
No, we don't.
Do it. I've got another one. It might make some people uncomfortable. It might be a little edgy, hyperbolic. We might get a lot of, requests for publicity, interviews, Mike. So just get ready. Hunker down. This might happen. We got to talk about it, and I'm not going to dodge it anymore. We're going to talk about cobblers.
Cobblers.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the listeners may be confused as to why we need to talk about cobblers. That's very understandable, because I realize, Mike, the whole reason me and you started talking about cobblers got cut from the show, actually, 2 weeks ago. We didn't actually use that segment where we were talking about cobblers. Did not make the podcast version of the show. So, but we just magically started talking about cobblers later on in the show. So, if listeners were wondering where this came from, in Rip from the Headlines, there was a story about Jennifer Garner's mom and the cobbler that she likes to make. And me and Mike talked about this cobbler. And then Mike said, "What is a cobbler?" And I was like, here's my best answer. And turned out, Mike, I'm not too far off.
Okay.
I was pretty much right. But that's why we started talking about cobblers. So anybody that was like, what the are they talking about cobblers for? That's why. That's why. And you know what? I'm here to answer it. So listeners, right now, if you're saying, I don't know what a cobbler is. Well, guess what? I'm going to tell you.
We're going to learn.
You're going to know. You're going to learn today. Okay? Now,
Cool.
Let's focus on the important stuff. Listeners, can you tell me the difference between a cobbler and a pie? And can you tell me the definition of a cobbler? Mike, how about you? Can you do that?
No, I cannot.
Okay. All right.
Hence why we're here.
First off, let me give you the definition, Mike. Before I get to the definition, actually, I want to tell you a couple things here. Cobbler, it's pretty much the most American dish you can have.
Word.
Yeah.
It originated right here in the US of A. Okay? It is, in fact, if you didn't have cobbler on 4th of July, you're not American.
No.
That's what I'm going to say. All right? I'm not American. I didn't have cobbler.
I'm not either.
There you go. We need to step up our game, Mike. In fact,
Yeah.
even further, Mike, here's a hot take right now.
I did have mayonnaise, though.
Nope. Doesn't count.
All right.
Just cobbler, Mike. Just cobbler. And right now, I will say, cobbler is more American than apple pie.
Oh, wow.
Do you know this? Apple pie is a British dish.
I can see that.
You might as well be eating fish and chips if you're having apple pie. I do cobbler because I'm American, Mike. America! Now, let's lay out the definition of cobbler.
Okay.
It's a dish consisting of fruit or savory filling. So you can have a savory cobbler, Mike. You can get yourself a meat cobbler if you want.
A meat cobbler.
I've never had a meat cobbler.
Nope.
That sounds like some kind of sexual activity, but regardless, I have not had a meat cobbler.
Yeah.
Savory filling into a large baking dish covered with a batter. Typically, it's either biscuit or dumpling dough. And then it's baked. So in essence, Mike, baseless pie, right? You just put the filling directly into the dish, and then you put the filling on top, or the dough on top.
So the crust is on the top.
Right. No crust on the bottom.
No crust on the bottom. So how do you...
Baseless pie.
How do you get a slice of pie? It just seems...
It's just a dump. You just put it out there in a big old dump of cobbler. Like there's no pie.
There's no slice.
No. Yeah. No, it's very crude. If you look at the serving of cobblers, it's just sort of like random scoops coming out of it.
Oh, that's weird.
And you got to sort of lube up the container so that you don't get a lot of the filling stuck on the container,
Right,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, also, Mike, don't be thrown. There's all kinds of variations on cobblers. Technically, all of these things are still baseless pies, so they're still cobblers. They've originated in different areas. Yes, Mike.
Doc G, I'm sorry. I don't want to get too far into the weeds here, but what would be considered something that you could put on the outside rim or inside of it to keep it from attaching? Like, would that be like a coconut oil or an olive oil?
Yeah, a fat.
A fat, okay.
Any type of fat will lube it up, Mike.
All right,
so
that's it.
you could,
that's all I got. That is just
yeah,
curious.
you could grease it up with an oil. You could grease it up with a lard. You could grease it up. Anything like that is gonna, it's gonna repel from the actual sticking to whatever that surface is.
Okay, just curious.
Listeners, are you geared in right now? You're geared in. I know you are. Mike, the variations of cobblers: crisp, crumbles, Betty's, grunts, pan dowdies, slumps, buckles, sonkers. All of these are actual names of baseless pies that are essentially cobbler cousins, And I got to be honest, sonkers really, that's my winner, Mike. Sonkers.
Sonkers. What does that look like, or what is that?
Same deal. It's the exact same deal. It is a cobbler. It's just a cobbler that came from the hills of North Carolina, Mike.
Okay.
But I got to be honest, sonkers don't sound like a dessert. They sound like a street drug that people were taking in the 70s. How many sonkers did you have before you went to that concert? Oh, God, you were out, bro. Those sonkers got you, man. But, Mike, the first cobbler recipe to be recorded was Letice Pierce Bryan in her cookbook, The Kentucky Housewife, written in 1839.
1839.
You have a copy, right?
I think it's somewhere on the...
Yeah, you got it. You got it. The book refers to a peach pot pie or cobbler.
Say what?
Has it in parentheses, Mike. Peach pot pie, cobbler. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you haven't, listeners, been listening and got all of this baseless pie information yet, I'll lay it out for you a little bit clearer. Pies use a pastry crust at the bottom, which is typically rolled out in a uniform way, sometimes consistency of a sweet, sweet taste to it.
Yeah, graham cracker, yeah.
Exactly. Whereas when we talk about cobblers, never a crust on the bottom, always on the top, and a lot of times it's either biscuit or just plain dough, Mike. There you go.
Cool.
Are you blown away right now?
Yeah, thank you so much, Doc G. I really think that I should know the difference between a cobbler and a pie for the rest of my life, and I'll always go for the pie.
No, what?
Bro, come on.
No, you won't,
go
Mike.
for the pie.
You are American.
Maybe a meat cobbler.
Go with cobbler. You will get a meat cobbler tonight. It will be sexual.
So a pot pie, though, that has a base.
That has that's a pie. It's not a cobbler.
That's true. You got me. Yeah.
It's a pie.
Okay.
Mike, do some quick numbers. How many extra 1,000 listeners do you think we're going to accumulate because of the segment on Cobbler?
Oh, man.
I'm thinking a couple 100,000, right? At least.
So true.
At least. Listeners, while me and Mike prepare for all this extra attention you are going to fire upon us, Mike, are you ready to fire the show up?
Let's fire up the Cobbler episode, Doc G.
5. All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Gosh, Cobbler. Oh, my gosh. Call us the Cobbler Gobblers. It's me and Mike. Mike is a forced Cobbler Gobbler. Even he doesn't want to admit that he's going to be soon. Mike, I'll be honest with you. I thought about going to our favorite Gold Belly and ordering you a cobbler. But, like, the cheapest cobbler was like $100. It was a really nice cobbler, and I was like, man, really? That much? All right. But
how much was it?
it's like $100.
Oh, my goodness.
But it was supposed to serve 8 people.
There's no base. Okay.
It was a cobbler. But, like, still, I was just like, for one segment on the show, $100? I don't know. We're not the Tonight Show. I don't have a budget like that. Come on. Jesus.
Blam.
Mike, we do have a fantastic show, though. We have the one and only Sonny Gullage on the show. If the name sounds familiar to some of you, you may be fans of American Idol. He was on American Idol,
Wow.
you know? Yeah, but he's so much more. He's so much more than American Idol. He's a talented musician. He's only 25 years old. And in the interview, you'll hear me sound like a total jack because I start out the interview by calling him Sonny Gullage. I don't know why I decided to pronounce his name like that, but I was just like, Gullage, that's how you do it. And I really laid into it. And graciously, he just breezed over it. He's like, well, this moron doesn't know how to say my name. But he reintroduced himself. He was like, yeah, that's right, I'm Sonny Gullage. And I was like, fuck. That's how you said it. But regardless,
You were just trying to make his last name sound a little fancier.
yeah, I was
Gullage.
I was trying to make the lay into the French, I don't know. But anyways, Mike, before we get to Sonny, before we get to anything else, we need to start where we start.
Birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
I know you know this person, Mike. I don't know if you'll be able to get her name though.
Ah.
I know you know
how it
who it
goes.
is. Yeah. So, born on
Story of my life.
July 10th, 1972 in Barranquilla, Colombia. She ended up going to college for dentistry at the National University of Colombia. She actually was going to be a dentist. She was only 2 semesters away from being a dentist. But then, like most people that get into dentistry, she decided, you know what, I'm going to leave because I'm going to get into modeling. Who doesn't have that? It's one or the other, dentistry or modeling. She went with modeling. In 1999, she moved to Miami. Through the early 2000s, she had several small roles in movies like Soul Plane, Lord of Dogtowns, Four Brothers, many other movies. But her first major breakthrough in acting was when she was chosen to play Gloria Delgado Pritchard in Modern Family. This year, she got a lot of focus for playing the lead role in Griselda, the Netflix miniseries about Griselda Blanco, the Colombian drug lord. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Sorry, Doc G, I have no idea.
She's the really attractive woman in Modern Family that's married to Ed O'Neill's character.
I'll take initials. I didn't watch Modern Family.
I know. I don't think you'll get it. I was just letting you know which one. Do you know who I'm talking about, though, in Modern Family?
I've never watched the show, so it's like, I don't know.
So that's that's her big deal. If you don't know that, you're going to be lost. Sofia Vergara. Sofia Vergara, yeah.
SV, I mean, I don't know. I know models.
Nah, you wouldn't have done it.
Nah,
Don't lie. Don't lie. Don't.
I know who Sophia. I do know who that is.
Okay.
But I probably wouldn't have. Yeah,
Where do you know her from? Then
I don't know. Just looking up hot chicks on Google, probably.
Attractive ladies. Oh, that's one. There we go.
Sophia.
Nice. What are the odds? All right. Well, she is. She's turning. What do we got? 52, Mike. 52. Wow.
Nice.
Looks amazing for 52. She recently got divorced, so she's available. So I might try to date her, Mike.
There you go.
I'm sure there's a high possibility. Sophia, looking out for you. Mike, you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
It's now time for Rip from the Headlines.
All righty. Mike, Eddie Murphy is still making headlines. He was doing an interview with Kevin McCarthy, not the House of Representatives Kevin McCarthy, but a reporter, Kevin McCarthy. And he made a joke about the Beverly Hills Cop theme music because they were talking about how popular it was. And he said it should be played at his funeral. And then he said, that's a joke because I'm never having a funeral. My loved ones know. No funeral. Just let me go quietly. That's what he said, Mike.
Okay. I can respect that.
I can respect it. But I want to tell Eddie, I'm not an expert on the afterlife, but I'm pretty sure Eddie isn't required to be there whether they have a funeral or not.
Oh, that's a good point, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I would say that's one of the beautiful things about being dead. You don't have to deal with your family. You can do whatever you want. Funeral, no funeral, party, slip and slide. You do whatever you want. I'm not gonna be there. You know. So it's I find that a bit confusing. Do you find that weird? I find it confusing when people are so focused on what's gonna happen after they leave. Oh, you need to do this. You need to do that. What do you give for? You're not gonna be there. I don't get it. Mike, is there gonna be a grand celebration when you go, or is it gonna be a dump off the side of the road?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it's a party. And then I think that when I give away when I have all my assets, it's not all going to my wife, or it's not gonna all go to my siblings.
She left the room, didn't she?
There's gonna be
going to her.
Yeah, no, she's not here. It will be a game show. It will be
nice.
A quiz. And
I like
whoever gets the most on my life.
Yeah. Maybe how about this? I mean, maybe it's like poker and they all start with a certain amount of your stuff and then they bet the stuff in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the big winner can come out. You're like, I didn't see it coming, but my cousin raked up. He knows my life. Amazing job, cousin. I'm just...
Great memory.
I think, great stuff. Anyways,
Yeah.
Mike, interesting.
What about you, Doc G? Hey, what about you? What are your after-death plans?
I don't care. Do whatever you want. Like I said, doesn't matter. I'm not there, man. I'd like to think that people are going to be around hey, it sucks that guy's not here, but I don't know. Maybe everybody be like, thank God that dude's not here anymore. Jesus, he was so lame, I don't know.
So true.
It's the beauty of me not being there. Mike, interesting headline from the old Business Insider. Quote, some boomers aren't waiting to die to pass on their wealth. Their millennial kids need it now. End quote.
Yeah. It's true. I'm going to get it in advance.
I'm going to guess this article was written by a 30-year-old just waiting for his parents to die. Guys, come on. Business Insider doesn't pay me a lot, okay? It'd be nice if you gave me some. Also, I couldn't help but think there's, just these older parents out there that have all kinds of money, and they've got these millennial kids that are, homeless, and they're like, we'd like to give it to you now, but I'm sorry. Not until we die. You're not getting any of this money until we die. Good luck. Until then, we'll see you. I'd like to think if the kids really need it, the parents would help out,
Yeah.
But I don't know. You may not have any money to give, Just saying.
Yeah, that might be a thing.
It's
just
saying.
It's tough. Yeah.
Mike, Haley Welch, right? The Hawk Tua girl.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Haley Welch. She is enjoying her newfound fame. She's got representation. Everybody loves her. She got $30,000 this past weekend for an appearance right here in Florida. Mm-hmm. She came down. I don't even know what she was doing. She was doing
$30,000.
$30,000 to show up, my friend.
That's a nice
payday. That's a nice payday. You know, I'm sure she'll parade out a whole bunch of crap for the next year based off of Hawk Tua.
Yes.
But you know who's not happy about all of her fame, Mike? Tim and Darius, the two guys that interviewed Haley in the viral clip.
Word.
Yeah. Yeah. They told the New York Times, quote, "At the end of the day, nobody would know who she was if we didn't bring it to light and post it." And I'll say, yeah, guys, but here's the thing. I got news for you. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
We don't celebrate the person that makes the assist. We celebrate the shot maker.
That's a fact.
You assisted her with a question, and she slam dunked that response. Who's more celebrated? Michael Jordan for making the game-winning shot against Cleveland, or Brad Sellers, the guy who passed him the ball? You guys are the Brad Sellers of online media. Mm-hmm. That's you.
Who's Brad Sellers?
Exactly. Exactly. He played for the Chicago Bulls in the 80s, Mike. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I had to look it up. I had no clue who Brad Sellers was. I had to look it up because I was
Wikipedia, no picture.
Well, I was like, what Michael Jordan shot does everybody remember? I was like, the one against Cleveland. And then I was like, who passed him the ball? And then I had to Google it, and I found out it was Brad Sellers. And I was like, oh, all right. I didn't even, you tell me people that played on the Bulls, I would never give you Brad Sellers.
No.
Yeah.
No idea.
You know? And sadly, I think that is a perfect analogy.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, I would say that's a spot-on analogy.
Now, I will say, Michael Jordan's performance relative to Haley's performance, we could say there's a difference in talent depending on what you're going to do. But
for sure. For sure.
I hope she has many more Hawk Tua moments. I doubt there will be, but we'll see.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd be taking gigs all over the place.
Oh God, man.
So it was a viral clip. They interviewed. I don't really actually know a lot about it. I saw there was like Hawk Tua, and it was like you
missed it, Mike.
Like a voting thing.
You have missed it so much, Mike. Let me tell you. I'll break it down to you.
I actually thought it was like Tony Hawk and then something else.
Here's what. No, not anywhere close. Here's what happened. She was getting drunk with her friends in Nashville. These characters, Tim and Darius, were interviewing people on the street, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing this for social media because they know that drunk people will make funny statements.
Of course.
So they're walking around with their microphones. They find Haley, and they're like, hey, we're going to interview you with a couple of questions. One of the questions was, tell us something you would do sexually to keep a man interested in you. And she's like, oh, when I'm going down on him, you give him a little Hawk Tua right on his thing. Talking about when she's, obviously, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that clip of her being drunk and going, you give a Hawk Tua, spit on that thing. That, for whatever reason, people were like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And,
And that's it. The rest is history.
And I mean, and at that time, she had already gotten off of social media, like on her own, because she just didn't like it, which props to Haley for being that person. But she wasn't on social media at all. So when it went off, like when it took off on social media, everybody's like, who is this person? We've got to find her. And they couldn't find any social media on her because she didn't have any. And so, they thought she got rid of it because of the viral moment. She got rid of it way before that.
Interesting.
And then just, just the way that people go, of course, everybody was just insanely obsessed with it. And we're like, we got to know more about this Hawk Tua girl.
Yeah, I wonder how much of it is, the anonymity. Anonymity.
Yeah, they wanted to know more about her, and that's the thing is props to her. She's trying to get her cash, and I would do the same thing.
Oh, for sure.
Of course, there's a bunch of sickos out there, and thousands of times now she's already got you got to make it OnlyFans. We want to see it.
How much for your bathwater?
Yeah, exactly. There's all kinds no, she got I forget, she got an offer of $5,000, $10,000 to spit in a jar hot.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I did see a small interview clip of her, but bathwater is always funny.
Yeah, but and so then something, it was in Hollywood, Florida, that they invited her down. I think it was an opening of a bar or something like that. But they offered her $30,000 to come down there, and of course I'd be yeah, I'll come down. And she didn't have to do anything. She just she said one thing, hey, I'm hot to a girl. All right. And that was it.
Yeah. I think that's a full weekend. If you're a famous person, that's a full weekend at an improv. I mean, one of the prices, but 30,000 is one that I've heard.
Oh yeah.
From.
Well, I mean, that's you're saying full two
full
shows
weekend,
a day.
Yeah. Well, so
and then
Friday.
Friday,
shows,
Saturday.
Friday, 2 shows Saturday.
Yeah. That's it. I would rather do Haley's. That'd be a lot easier for the work.
Man,
I'm gonna show up. What's up?
Show.
Hey.
Yeah. Anyways,
Mike, this story was making its rounds. This one was all over. Bunch of different headlines here. Tammy Randolph and Peggy Randolph. They were a couple. I think Tammy died. Yes, Tammy died, but that's not the point of the story. It's when Tammy died, they found out that Tammy had been using Peggy's telehealth portal, because Tammy or Peggy is a social worker. Mm-hmm. Tammy had been using the telehealth portal to pose as a psychologist, as a counselor. And she was treating people as a counselor or a therapist, even though she had no training.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So between 2021 and 2023, she met with hundreds of patients and had access to all of their, medical files, 700 some patients.
Jeez.
And all I could think about in the story, Mike, I was like, how weird do you have to feel if you were the person getting the treatment from the fake therapist, but it actually helped you? Like you felt better.
Yeah, placebo.
And then you find out that it's a fake therapist, and you're like, do I get another fake therapist? What do I do? Should I find somebody to just impersonate one?
Yeah.
Is the real one gonna be better? I don't know. You go to the real one and it's worse, and you're like, oh, that sort of sucks. That'd be so weird. You're just like, I talked to a person that's not their job for 2 years. God, they must be lonely. That is weird, just weird, Mike. Weird.
All right, well, I don't have the telehealth portal, but I do have a new portal. Just tell me your problems, and I'll tell you what I think. I was married to a professional.
Indirectly. I got some things.
Indirectly.
Mike, you've never been to a therapist, have you?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to one right now. I'm going to two on Thursday. Yeah.
Look at you go.
Oh, yeah, I do a little therapy.
Look at you being mentally healthy.
I try.
Me, not so much. It's all just bottled in here. It's just disaster waiting to unfurl. Trust me, it's bad, Mike. There's all kinds of horrible things.
Yeah.
I should definitely do it.
I love therapy.
I don't.
Finally, somebody I can vent to. They're like, really? How does that make you feel? And I'm like, it doesn't feel good.
They're paid to do it.
Yeah.
That's what they have to do. Mike, I got fake therapy for a long time, I will say.
Oh, yeah?
Well, at one of the schools that I worked at, my department was right beside the counseling department. And one of my good friends... No, one of my good friends, Richmond, was the head of the department.
Oh, okay.
And so I'd just go talk to him and just be like, what do you think I should do on that? What about this? And you could tell, after a while, I'd be like, I'm not free. Give me money for this. I'm not going to do this anymore, But anyways, 72-year-old Bill Belichick. He's making news again, Mike. He was all over this weekend. He was out there celebrating the 4th of July, and he was celebrating it with
his girlfriend.
His 24-year-old girlfriend, Mike. They were riding bikes. They were riding bikes all over Nantucket. It looked like a movie. They had, this crystal blue day. It was beautiful. Some news outlets said they were wearing matching rings on their left index finger. Looked totally in love, Mike.
Yeah.
Totally in love, you know? And I just got to say, enjoy it, Bill. Enjoy it, man. You're only 3 times your partner's age once. You got to take advantage, Bill. You got to take advantage. Come on, man. Beautiful. It's beautiful. They really look like an odd couple, I got to say.
Yeah, I saw a picture. Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Yeah, Bill's trying. I'll give it to him. He's trying to look relaxed out there.
Yeah.
He's trying to look like he can bend at the waist, but it's just, I don't think it's possible.
A little Epstein-y to me.
He's a little inflexible, you know? Well, I mean, at least give him credit. She is
of age.
I was about to say, she is 6 years over 18.
Yeah,
so that's,
you know, it's just pretty wild. Yeah, but hey, man.
It's fair.
But you can't knock people.
It's legal.
For what they want to do.
Mike, we are going to take a break. We are going to hear from our guest, none other than Sonny Gullage, right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show, Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what should the listeners do if they are so inclined?
Yeah, if the listeners are so inclined and they feel like this show is a positive way to waste their time, they should please tell a friend about the show. And also, please subscribe to our show on everything. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever they get their podcasts, they should subscribe. It's a cost-effective way to support the show. And while they're at it, leave us a 5-star review. If they're feeling extra generous, please leave us a nice review.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. And remember, if you leave a negative review, it will haunt my dreams for the rest of eternity. So don't do it. Don't you do it. I like how you moved Tell a Friend to the front, Mike. That was nice.
Yeah.
Tell a Friend took precedence there. I like it.
Yeah, tell a friend. Tell a friend about the show. It's really important.
Word of mouth is very important, listeners. If you take a marketing class, they'll let you know. Strongest advertising you can have. Word of mouth. So if
I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Doctor.
Know it. Know it now, Mike.
Now I do.
You like what's coming out of me and Mike's mouth, you let another person know. Let it flow out of your mouth, and you tell them. All right? So, need to thank the 5-star listeners, Mike.
We do.
Here we go.
Shoutouts.
Shout out Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Bashburn, Virginia, Piracai, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Retch, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Winfield, West Virginia, Biloxi, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Peoria, Illinois, Katy, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Boynton, Virginia, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and Columbus, Ohio. Had one little stumble there. That was almost perfect, Mike. That was almost perfect. I forget which one it was.
I didn't hear it.
It was up. No, it was up there at the beginning. It sort of. But beside from that, it was a good one. It was a good one. And let me tell you why it was good, listeners. Because I was fueled by your listens.
Yeah.
That's why it was good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's why it was good. Mike, we got some internationals here for the old 4-stars.
Hey-o.
Singapore.
Shout out.
My goodness, Singapore came through with the listens this week.
Singapore,
Mike.
What's up?
I would like to go to Singapore at some point.
Me
Mike.
too.
It looks beautiful. You know,
Yeah, it does.
It's all tropical and well maintained. You get thrown in jail for 37 years if you chew gum. It's lovely. You know, it's just but again, it'd be one of those. I'd have to do like 17 stops before I got there.
Yeah.
You know,
Ease into it.
I am not doing a from here to Singapore trip. Good God.
Yeah.
I would die somewhere on the plane flight. It would be horrible. Singapore, though, thank you for the listens. Most listens this week from a city not in Florida. There you go, Singapore.
Cool.
Getting it done. New York City, straight up. Shout out to you guys. Fort Worth, Texas. Shout out to you guys. Just the whole Fort Worth, Dallas area. We love you guys. Yes. San Francisco, California. Shout out to you guys. Springfield, Illinois. Shout out to you guys. Birmingham, Alabama. Beham coming in hot. St. Augustine, Florida, right down the road from us. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Shout out to you guys. Santa Clara, California. Milan, Italy. Getting that northern Italy up there.
Cool.
Mike, I learned from Stanley Tucci that's the area of rice. Really love rice up in Milan. Get a lot of rice dish. Say what? Anywho.
Milan, Italy. Thank you.
Milan, Italy. Yes. Paris, France, Mike. Paris coming through. Hong Kong. Hong Kong getting in on the list. And shout out to Hong Kong. Warsaw, Poland. Getting out to Warsaw. Mexico City. Mexico. And lastly, Kyiv, Ukraine. Yes.
Shout out.
Thank you.
There we go. To all the listeners, we thank you. Mike, I told you a while back I was going to give a new subscriber on YouTube a shout out. Here we go. Rebecca Abel. Thanks for subscribing.
Hey, Rebecca Abel.
Exactly. We thank you. You're probably not actually listening to the show. You're just looking at the clips on YouTube, but guess what? You're getting a shout out here that you don't even know about, And we thank you. Mike, I've been doing my random shout outs. I got a random shout out real quick. My random shout out, Michael Bloomberg. You know Michael Bloomberg, right?
Yeah.
Billionaire, started Bloomberg. Yeah. His charity just gave John Hopkins a donation of $1 billion.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
For medical school tuition, specifically tuition. Now, tuition will be completely free for medical students whose families earn less than $300,000.
Jeez.
So any family that's earning less than $300,000, they have a kid that's going, they'll get it for free, which previously, before this gift, it was roughly $65,000 a year for 4 years. So before that, they were paying $260,000 to go to med school there. And now, thanks to Bloomberg's donation, $0.
Nice.
Yeah. Talk about a donation. Remember when we had that story about that dude that was giving out like $1,000 to the graduates, and he was like, oh, and everybody's like, oh, big deal. This is a big deal.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
That's a huge deal. That's a donation.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Michael Bloomberg. That's pretty awesome.
Shout out.
Mike, real quick, previously on the Doc G Show.
Previously on the Doc G Show.
Got a couple things.
Nice.
Mike, once again, this is another story that got cut out, but I still feel like I need to remedy it for you. I feel like this is important that me and you go over this. Okay? So we had a story about Emma Roberts, listeners. The story about Emma Roberts did not make it onto the podcast.
Nope.
Emma Roberts, for you guys that don't know, has a famous father that makes movies and a famous aunt, Julia Roberts, that makes movies. She was on a podcast last week, and she told the podcast that she thought that women got called out for nepotism more than men. She then said, why isn't anyone calling out George Clooney? Now, I thought this was ridiculous, Mike, because I was like, George Clooney is George Clooney. Like, what? And his dad is Nick Clooney. But I realized after the show, she was talking about nepotism because of her aunt, Rosemary Clooney. I don't know Rosemary Clooney, Mike. I'm not afraid to say that. Apparently, she was very famous back in the 50s. She was an extremely famous artist in the 50s, which makes sense, right? Emma would think about people getting called out for their aunt, since her aunt is Julia Roberts. So I get that. But again, her premise is ridiculous. You can't do that when the person that was famous was 70 years ago.
Yeah.
And George Clooney had 70 movies and is still much, much more famous than her. But anyways, listeners, I'm glad you didn't hear the original segment, because I would have seemed like a moron talking about Nick Clooney instead of Rosemary Clooney. Whew! Thank God that didn't happen, Mike.
So true.
Mike, one other thing. This isn't really a correction of any sort, but I just had to go back and bring this up. We talked also about Dirk Nowitzki and his military training at the start of his career. And I went back and looked at a picture of that. And, you know, he got drafted at the same time Steve Nash did. So there's a picture of him and Steve Nash right beside each other. And they are so in their 90s gear in this picture.
Yeah.
They look like they just got back from their NSYNC audition. Like, they both got highlights. Steve's got frosted tips. Dirk's got a hoop earring and a pinky ring. He's got a pinky ring on. It's just, oh, it's so good, Mike. It's such a good picture.
Oh, my gosh. Parted hair.
Yeah.
So funny. They both look like NSYNC members or Backstreet Boys members. I mean, interchangeable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
They got
funny.
the frosted tips and just like the blonde ends. It's just, oh, so good. So good.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Oh, anyways,
times.
Mike, we need to take a break, but we are going to be right back with none other than Sonny Gullage right here.
This is 95.5 Spinnaker Radio. WSKR-LP-FM, UNF Jacksonville.
The Doc G Show. Because sometimes you need something playing in the background. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on 99.5 FM, Spinnaker.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are very happy to be welcoming a man who has a new album coming out August 23rd. The album is titled Go Be Free. Mr. Sonny Gullage. Sonny, how's it going?
How you doing, everybody? My name's Sonny Gullage. It's very nice to meet all of you. And I'm doing all right. How are you today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So you are in New Orleans?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Now, born and raised in New Orleans, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice, man. So I always, it's one of those things, I think, I don't know if everybody feels this way, but I feel like New Orleans is one of those cities you always hear it connected to music and food.
Oh, yeah. You know, from whether you're talking gospel and after church meals or talking blues and barbecue, New Orleans and New Orleans music and New Orleans food, and even the spirit that's put within both, it's very much a connected thing.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we'll get to the music. That's your deal. But on the food side, what's your go-to spot? Like, if I'm coming to New Orleans and I call you up and I say, Sonny, I need the best place to eat, where are you telling me?
Well, there's three. I'll give you three of my favorites.
Oh, I love it. All right. Hold on. I'm going to get a pen. I'm going to write this down. All right. What do we got?
Anybody who's listening, you got to write this down. You got to look it up. Okay, first things first. One of the most historical spots in town, Dookie Chase's.
Dookie Chase. All right.
Chase's.
What type of food is this?
You'd actually properly call it Creole cuisine. So,
Nice.
This legendary place. I mean, everyone from Martin Luther King all the way to Barack Obama's eaten there. And it's been a spot where so much of not just this country's, but this world's history has been woven through. And even to the extent of the original Chef Leah Chase, Tiana from Princess and the Frog is actually based off of Chef Leah Chase.
Wow.
So this is whether you're a Disney fan, whether you're a Creole cuisine fan, whether you're just a fan of history and culture, if you're a history buff, hey, Dookie Chase is the place to be.
All of the above, man. All of the above. What's the number two?
Number two, if I have to be honest, I'm a big food truck guy. I'm a big like I said, blues and barbecue, they go together in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Kuzan's Food Company, Kuzan's Food Truck. if you can find the Kuzan's truck, I promise you, you will have some of the best, most unique ways of barbecue and other things served up, such as one that I call, and at this point I know the owner pretty well. I call him my Uncle Eddie, and Uncle Eddie's got a peach cobbler fried chicken. And that's a very unique thing to say.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have Dookie Chase's, Kuzan's Barbecue, Kuzan's Food Company, Kuzan's Barbecue, and in terms of finding something a little off the beaten path, right? I will always be a fan of saying Melba's. I have to say, my favorite place is a little off the beaten path because it's actually on Elysian Fields Avenue, as opposed to being in the French Quarter proper or on Esplanade or on Frenchman. This is on Elysian Fields, and it's called Eat at Melba's. Eat at Melba's is people who are from New Orleans know Eat at Melba's, and we like it. You know, whether you're someone who's looking for a daiquiri or you're someone who's looking for some good assortment of soul food, I definitely have to say Eat at Melba's is one of my favorite spots.
So that's like the local spot right there.
Yeah, it's one of those, the type that's next to a washateria, but at the same time, you can go wash your clothes, go get your lunch, and then have a daiquiri all in the same place.
I like that. That. Although I got to be honest, I am intrigued by this peach cobbler fried chicken. I gotta.
Trust me, it's worth it. I mean,
that sounds good right there. That's.
I'm gonna say it like this because it's just like music. In the words of my Uncle Eddie, if you make the right stuff, you don't need no sauce on it.
That's taking two great things and putting them together right there. Well, now that I've got hungry, let's talk music there. I always see that every article says you're from a music family. I know your dad was a professional musician, bassist. He played with Dr. John, Tyler Perry Productions. When you were growing up, did you see a lot of? Were you sort of always there? Were you that kid that was always with him?
I was very much. I was my dad's little roadie. I was Kevin, grab the other side of this speaker. Okay, carrying a giant 14 cabinet right into the establishment. And so I was always around. I got to see some of the best in so many fields of music. I was exposed to more international musicians than most people my age at the time. I mean, knew this guitar player from Japan named Makuni Fukuda, who played with the Neville Brothers. And then I'd get to experience a guy from Brazil named Mello Jr., who was just an amazing shredding guitar player. But at the same time, I'd have artists like DeVell Crawford and Henry Butler walking into the house and just being like, oh, hey, you're as normal. and Gary Brown and so many others. So having an exposure to so many great musicians from everywhere, it was always just so cool just being around, being the little kid who's like, hey, who's this little guy in the corner? Oh, that's my son Kevin. It was just like, yeah, I'm here and just taking it all in.
Did they include you? Did those obviously they acknowledged you were there, but was it like one of those things? When did they start like, hey, check this out. Watch this. Watch me play this.
Well, it was when I was about 6 years old, actually. I was very intrigued by music my whole life. My father, like you said, my father was professional. And even he has 11 siblings who also all have done music at one point or another. And even together, the boys, 6 boys, 6 girls, the boys had, and anything more than 4 people in gospel is called a gospel quartet. So the boys had their own gospel quartet, the girls had their own gospel quartet. And their mother, my grandmother, was actually a recording artist. In 1965, she recorded an album with Sammy Perfect, actually.
Wow.
So it was like being the offspring of all that. I was in the corner just so intrigued And then they'd say, about 6 years old, I understood what a music note was. I understood what a rhythm looked like. I was in kindergarten and my teacher goes, okay, everyone, write on the board. This is a quarter note. It goes ta. These are eighth notes. It goes ti. So ta, ti, ta, ta. And I got that. And this is a half note. So it goes ta for 2. And this is a whole note, ta for 4. So I went home. And you know, when you're a little kid, you lay on your stomach all the time. I get home, go on the floor, lay on the stomach, put a piece of paper out, and I start writing these notes. Just because it's so cool. And my dad walks up behind me and goes, hey, Kevin, what you doing? I said, I'm writing notes. He goes, oh, to who? And I go, no, Dad, not those notes, music notes. He said, what? I said, yeah. He looks over my shoulder and he sees me writing these notes. He goes, let me see that. I hand it up to him. He goes, and you know what this means? I said, yeah. I said, what does that mean? Nah. Bro, I said, ta, ti, ta, ta. He said, well, if I do this, writes his own. What is that? I said, ta, ti, ta. He goes, writes a third one, just in case this is all a big fluke. He goes, what's this? I go, ti, ta, ti, ta, ti. He goes, and that's sort of disturbing, I think, for a parent who you know, he's about, at this point, I think he was maybe about 38 years old, and he's got his little 6-year-old kid clapping out rhythms, like it's, hey, this is how it goes. So he goes to Henry Butler. He goes, Henry, what do? I want this. I want to nurture this. I want this to be something that he can actually do. What do I do? And from that moment on, they were always, all of them were feeding it to me some way or another. They'd say, hey, check this out, listen to this. And even just being allowed to sit in the rehearsals this time, instead of just like carrying the stuff and then being told, all right, go sit in the living room. Now I'm sitting in the rehearsal room like, whoa, this is what real music is. This is what my dad goes out of the country to do, this right here. And that's when they started including me and stuff. Just now,
did you start, was that when you started playing piano?
No. I was a student of instruments. I was, because when you're a kid, you want to be like your dad.
Mm-hmm.
To play bass. I wanted to be the guy slapping bass and everything. And then I got a little older and I was like, about 7, 8 years old. And now I'm like, oh, I want to play guitar. So I tried guitar out. And then when you get about 9, you want to make noise. So I'm like, I want to play drums. So I started playing drums. And then when you're about 10, you're in 5th grade, about 5th grade at this point. So you got to find your school instrument. And I knew a musician named Gary Brown, who was a burning saxophone player. So instantly I picture myself as Steve Harvey in the 90s from the Steve Harvey Show, wearing some type of purple suit playing in the middle of a stadium. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go for saxophone. Played saxophone and clarinets for 6 years. I didn't start playing piano until I was 12 years old. So I picked up piano at about 12 years old and had all these other instruments that I just learned all along the way.
Just picked them up. You gotta find the right noise.
The instrument sort of picks you, to be honest. I can play all these things, but the one that I gravitated to, the one that took to my fingers best was this right here. This is actually the very piano that I grew up in my house with, Nice. So it's been there through Katrina and everything else. We had this piano where that was my go-to that I found.
Yeah. I'm guessing, like you said, you start playing with music when you're 6, you find the piano when you're 12. It doesn't really sound like you ever had a second option for a career. It doesn't sound like there was like, it's either piano or landscape architecture. Like, was there anything else besides music?
I love agriculture.
Huh?
I love farming. I can grow my own food. I have animals. I I've grown many things. I've made many different types of things, hot sauces and everything else. So there are other sides, there are passions, but something that I could say I wanted to do with my life, that's different.
Yeah.
That's completely different. Music is always called to me in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you ended up going to the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts for high school, which big deal. Everybody there, most everybody there goes on to do something, professionally in the arts. And I hear you've got to audition to go there. What was the audition process for you then?
Being freshly on piano at 12 years old, you had to know a jazz standard. You had to, and that's the thing. They don't have blues specialty or anything like that. You have to know. You have to play a jazz standard for the jazz department. Where I played a song called "Satin Doll" by Duke Ellington, and I played "Misty" by Errol Carter. And you had to know how to improvise. Once again, freshly 12 years old playing piano, so I didn't know what improvising meant. Because when they said improvise, I thought they meant anything, but they meant take a solo. so I was over here just fiddling, but I had a concept. I had good rhythm. I like music. Music should sound cool. So I had to know all my scales. I had to know how to improvise over a jazz standard and over a 12-bar blues. So that's where the luck of playing music and being involved in music for so long in terms of like having a family who did music. That's where that sort of came in, because it was like, hey, now get out of your head. Don't think about what your fingers are supposed to look like. Think about how this is supposed to sound. That's it. So I took my left hand out and just started playing with one hand. And by the grace of God, I got in. And I mean, from then on, it was such a journey.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you said, there's a big jazz component, and you've had a big jazz component sort of your whole life. I mean, you did the Louis Armstrong jazz camp. What would you say the split of sort of genre influence was? Jazz, was there a ton of jazz because it was sort of the most available as far as education?
That's actually the perfect way to put it. I mean, there are very few blues programs for young people, and I'm gonna be quite honest. I don't have a problem, personally, not a full problem. I think that blues should be highlighted, but in terms of the introduction to blues is not something that's learned in school. Blues is not something that you learn. Like, somebody can't say, hey, this is how the blues goes. No, you have to, I think Eric Gale said it best. If you ain't done this, you don't know the blues. And that's very much the truth. I mean, the first blues song I learned was Night Train. Night Train that took my baby so far. Yeah. And that was something that for some reason I took to it. Mm-hmm. I was at this point, I was learning essentially classical music at that time. This was pre-Noka, and it's like, okay, well, what's a book in front of me? Try this out. I started playing, and I was like, yeah, I'm liking this. I'm digging this. And because I wanted to go to Noka, I just had to get to the best word I can say is facility. Mm-hmm. Jazz is a matter of facility of an instrument. If anything, I mean, it's a major practice. But blues is a matter of feel and substance in that way, of how you're going to put in your emotion. So that is the best way I can describe it. There was always jazz because that's what you had to learn about. Mm-hmm. That's what you learn so that you can go to college and, if you're going to do music, I'm more comfortable with you doing music to the point of you're going to go to a university for it or something. They don't say, here for blues. What's your major in? Blues education? No, it's like jazz performance, jazz studies.
Yeah. Well, now, I mean, when you were a kid, I mean, you look at New Orleans and Lil Wayne was dominating the airwaves. I mean, did hip hop play a part of your musical influence growing up?
For me, all music did. I'm from New Orleans. I live on an outskirt town called Luling, Louisiana, which is what I personally call perfect medium. The perfect medium, you know, it's close enough to New Orleans. It's a 45-minute drive to New Orleans proper. And in New Orleans proper, you'll find hip hop, you'll find punk, you'll find blues and R&B and jazz and all that. Even you can find African rhythms and different Latin and Afro-Cuban musics. While 45 minutes in the other direction, you'll find Zydeco, you'll find the Swamp Poppers, and you'll find guys like Tab Benoit and the Mark Broussards. So having that split in that way, you had to be just as good as the guys in New Orleans. And at the same time, you had to be able to battle out with the Swamp Poppers if you had to, because you're competing for all the same gigs in that sense. The New Orleans guys compete against the New Orleans guys for New Orleans gigs. The Swamp Poppers compete against the Swamp Poppers for Swamp Popper gigs. But when you're sitting in that perfect medium, you have to know both. You have to be just as familiar with Zydeco songs as you do with jazz standards and everything else. Mm-hmm. So that's where that influence side comes in. So hip hop, of course, had to play a part in it. Just getting to know what people like, getting to know how to entertain people. Right now, hip hop is one of those bigger musics that does that.
Mm-hmm. We've had Mark on the show before, Mark Broussard, and man, that guy can sing.
Soulful guy. I mean,
he's
favorites.
Yeah, he's got a voice, man. Well, I mean, you were talking about the playing gigs, getting gigs either in New Orleans, getting gigs outside of New Orleans. When did you start doing your own gigs? Was that in high school?
About senior year of high school into freshman year of college. I started playing jazz gigs under just different corporations like the Noka Jazz Ensemble, or I'll say the Satchmo Summer Jazz Camp would have students come, student gigs. Mm-hmm. I was also playing little smaller things, like I was playing at a small Italian restaurant from the age of 12 all the way to, I want to say about 19 years old was the last time. And just getting to know the songs that people like in terms of not the jazz standards that I have to play in school. And at the same time, not the songs that I'm calling original. It's just me playing piano for a while. No, I had to learn the songs like Blueberry Hill and My Girl and Stand By Me. And then I had songs like I told you, I had Night Train in my pocket. I had Set and Doll and Misty. And that led to, how can I put this eloquently? That led to being in a position of like when I got to high school and college, I had a repertoire of songs that I collected over about 7 years. Mm-hmm. Senior year of high school, I started playing at BB King's Blues Club, New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And if that's not throwing you into the fire, I don't know what is, because people come to a place like BB King's to hear the blues. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I had Night Train. And I'm playing behind a guitarist named Kenny Brown, who I grew up around. And he's doing all these blues songs. And where I know how to play jazz blues, I'm sitting here trying to play true blues. And I'm thinking, you know what? On this next solo, I'm going to burn it. I'm going to do what I do. And I start playing out abstract jazz and no one likes it. So I grown up in blues and around gospel, but it was just so different from school, So that threw me into the fire. And then freshman year of college, I did the IBC. I tried out. I competed in the district IBC.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we didn't win. Some win, some lose. But what ended up happening was I was playing and they said, Kevin, it was at BB King's. Kevin, we know you didn't win, but we want to give you a shot here. Can you play next Wednesday at 3 p.m.? Next Wednesday at 3 p.m., I was supposed to be in school. But I was at BB King's Blues School, and we played a show that just wowed the audience. So they said, hey, we want to get you here at least once a week. How about this? Once a week, you're going to do Monday nights. Sure, no problem. Playing once a week there at Monday nights at that point. Hey, you're doing pretty good. We want to get you here twice a week, Monday nights, and we want you to open up close Monday nights, and we want you to open up for the BB King All-Star Band of New Orleans on Friday nights. Sure. So after school on Mondays, I'd go to BB King's and close at BB King's. And then Fridays after school, I'd go to BB King's and I'd open up for the All-Star Band. My band would play the set before. And then they say, hey, we really like what you're doing. You're doing real good. We want you here 3 nights a week. And then that's when the Kevin Gullage Band, in terms of blues, that's when the Kevin Gullage Band originated. Mm. So we started playing there 3 nights a week, and we did that all the way until the shutdown, until COVID. So
nice.
In that time, made a bunch of great friends, like a blues guitar player out of Portland, Oregon, named Norman Sylvester. They call him Boogie Cat. And then Tony T.C. Coleman, which is, BB King's drummer. And so many more. I mean, and even the owner of the BB King's franchise, and I mean the entire franchise, his name was Tommy Peters. He passed during COVID, but he became such a great friend with all of us.
Yeah. I mean, that had to be a huge, roadblock. I mean, obviously it was a huge roadblock for everybody, but like you got all this momentum. You're playing all the time. You're getting all this good experience, and then COVID happens. Like, what do you do? What was going through your mind?
Well, as a New Orleanian, it's different, I guess. I can't deny it. We are probably some of the most resilient people you'll ever meet. Really, life comes along for us quite often and just sort of like pushes you out away. So I'm someone who, we don't run from hurricanes. The only hurricane we've ever run from was Katrina, and I think the following, which was Gustav. But other than that, even during Ida, we were right here in this house. So during COVID, it was just another stage of life. He decided to kick us one time, and hey, that's just the blues for you. Ain't it? Happens, So there we are, and I'm sitting there, but it's okay. Let's finish. Let's put out now. Let's. And at this point, it's Kevin Gullage and the Blues Groovers. Mm-hmm. Let's put out an album. That's when we put out our album, Something Old, Something New, Something Borrowed Blues, which was distributed at the time by Basin Street Records. Mm-hmm. And that was our COVID project, and everybody, if you don't feel the blues at any time, try staying inside for about 1.5 years. And I promise you'll feel the blues then. So yeah, that's where that real blues push past just performing at BB King's, but even opening up into the world of blues. Mm-hmm. That's where it really started. And during that time, not much was going on. Country borders were closed. So my dad walks to my room and goes, so come in, I'm half asleep. He goes, hey, you feel like auditioning for American Idol? And I go, sure. Like, okay, I'll set it up for you. Zoom. It was like a Zoom thing. So next thing you know, I have a Zoom audition for American Idol. And that led to the Idol experience that ended, essentially, that was towards the end of COVID. towards the end of the what are they called? When we were all locked inside quarantine. That was the end of the quarantine for me. And
Well, I was gonna say real quick. I mean, the American Idol thing. You know, no offense to American Idol. I mean, it's a great thing, and it's obviously loads of competition. You just don't strike me as a guy that has always dreamed of being on American Idol. So I'm guessing, like, if your dad, if it hadn't have been Zoom, you probably wouldn't have ended up on that show, right?
Probably not. Only because I think that things work in a certain way on purpose. I'm one of the, I say it. I think God works in very, very intentional ways.
Mm-hmm.
I can say this: being on American Idol was great.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see that there are other people around my age and some even younger who were seriously, truly concerned about music in terms of being serious musicians. And I got to see a side of music, the TV land side of music, as I call it, that most people don't get to see. And I got to see a great band, the American Idol band. Oh, I got to see them at work. And all of that, when my first episode aired, I got a phone call from Hammond Organ Company because I made the accidental achievement of endorsing Hammond. I put my melodeon on the piano, and in big red letters on national television, you see Hammond. You see Hammond melodeon HP20. So I got a call from them, and they go, "Hey, we saw Kevin on American Idol, and we want him to be part of our artist family." So I got a whole endorsement off of American Idol without actually doing anything on purpose at all. So
You were like, if I would have known that, I would have had 7 different things lined up on.
I would have had a Hammond melodeon, wore a Fender shirt just while wearing a Gibson hat, just to let everybody get a little something.
Exactly. Now, this is a little bit just in the American Idol. Did you get to interact with any of the judges, like behind the scenes? Were any of the judges, were they really nice?
Yes, Lionel Richie.
Nice.
That's for somebody coming out of New Orleans who sings blues and sings tries to sing in a very soulful way. Being next to Lionel Richie was a very humbling experience in a good way, and actually there's a story. It was the duet round Idol, and my partner and I were sitting, and they moved us right next to Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Brian. And I'm sitting here, and right about here is the bottom of Lionel Richie's chair. And I'm sitting here just watching him as he's judging everybody, he has to do that. And he turns around and goes, "Kevin, what's up? You look perplexed." And I go, I don't envy what you got to do. This is a hard thing, and I really don't envy it. So I'm just watching and learning. He goes, "Kevin, you know what, everybody, when you make it, and not to say that you haven't made it because you're here, but when you make it, when you get everything that you want," he looks down at me and goes, "Call me, we'll have a similar conversation." And I remember after Idol, I tweeted to him. I said, "At Lionel Richie, can't wait to finish that conversation with you." And that's my personal Lionel Richie story that I don't think I'll ever forget.
Yeah, I mean, all night long, night shift. Oh,
yep.
Yeah, this some
so
jams.
Jesus is Love. Oh, one of those songs. You very rarely have a perfect song, but he has a few of them.
He's got some good ones, man. He's got some good ones. Well, let's talk about your new songs. Let's talk about the new album, Go Be Free. This album is on Blind Pig Records, and you seem pretty excited. I saw a couple of announcements, a couple of releases about when you got on Blind Pig. Why the excitement? Why were you excited about Blind Pig?
Well, at Howlin' Hog. Let's see. Blind Pig, because so many of my favorite artists were Blind Pig artists. I mean, I can go down the list. E.C. Scott, Kenny Neal, Otis Rush, so many others that I grew up like, man, these are blues guys. These are and women. These are blues people. These are the people who not only are they blues people, but these are power singers. And then I got into Victor Wainwright. I mean, I got into the catalog of Blind Pig, and I saw songs like Blind Pig Live. I saw Ace of Spades. I did not even know Ace of Spades was through Blind Pig, but I saw it and I was, whoa. I grew up playing this song on Tony Hawk Pro Skating. This was my jam growing up. So when I saw Blind Pig, I was like, whoa, that's one of the record labels that when I was first trying to get the original album, Something About Blues, distributed, that was one of the people that I wanted to be with. But at the time, Blind Pig was taking a break. I think they were taking a hiatus from about 2015 till about 2023. So being in that number of, hey, we're bringing the pig back, and we want you to be one of the first artists. that was such a humbling experience where I'm like, whoa. This is a whole different ballgame. This is not what I'm necessarily used to.
Yeah.
But it's what I wanna check out. I want to be a part of. So,
nice.
So I was just blown away. At this point I've been touring. I just got fresh back from Europe. I did 13 cities in 15 days, and I would go into Austria twice within 2 months of each other. And then I was going to Brazil the next month, and Blind Pig just reached out. So I was very excited to be able to put my name in a list of people. Even Pinetop Perkins, one of the most influential, one of my favorite piano players of all time. Pinetop in this number of the artists that were with Blind Pig. So nice. I felt so shocked and just humbled to be asked, hey, would you like to be a Blind Pig artist?
Yeah. Well, now you started out like you hit the ground running, it seems like. I mean, because this, once you announced being on Blind Pig, you started working with Tom Hambridge at the start of 2024. Had you already, most of the songs on the album, had you already wrote these songs and it was more of just getting the tracks down, or was it sort of like a fresh start?
I'm a writer. I love writing songs. That I am a writer and composer. Right with being a live performer, writing and composing is my bread and butter. And when you get put in the room with Tom Hambridge, that's a writer, that's a arranger, that's a composer, that's somebody who knows what he's doing. And there were two other people in the room. There was a man named Rich Fleming, who also is an amazing writer, and my father was. So when you put a room full of musicians, writers, creative people in one place and say, hey, let's pop out an album. He said, come in with some ideas. And I was off to the races. I was on my phone typing songs. I was driving and saying, hey, take a voice note. And I'd sing the song into the phone. And then I'd get home and get on my notepad and just start writing. And then I'd get to the piano and start playing and saying, okay, maybe this will work. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you won't. And then when we got to Nashville to write with Tom, he goes, all right, show me. Let's see what we start with. And we started writing. And we started writing together. And then and no matter which song, we just went at it head on, straightforward. And since we're talking about Go Be Free, very specifically, Go Be Free, I remember I came in with just the first verse, and he said, "I like this story. I like where you're going with." I was like, "Yeah, this is my story."
Mm-hmm.
And then we were like, "Hey, all right, well, let's write on this." So I started writing, and Tom's writing, and then we ended up putting verses together. We were like, "Oh, well, his writing style and my writing style, it's going hand in hand. This is becoming very productive."
Mm-hmm.
Rich comes in on day 2, and he starts helping out with other songs. And yeah, before we knew it, we had, I think we finished 12 to 13 songs. And is it 12 to 13, or am I miscounting? I think it was 12 to 13 or 13 to 14 or 14 to 15, something like that. But we had so many songs, we had to say, "Hey, let's save these other ones for another time."
Nice. Oh, I mean, Tom, you mentioned Tom's he's a big time artist, big time producer. I mean, you know, you look at all the people that he's worked with, either just sort of in passing or on their albums or recorded with. And I mean, it's you know, Chuck Berry, Bo Diddley, Buddy Guy, George Thorogood. I'm guessing there were some of those fun things where like he pulled out one of those old time tricks that you were like, "Oh, I got to keep that for myself."
He gave me a tip that I will treasure till the day I die. He goes, "You know, I was writing with he was writing with Rascal Flatts." And he said they were like, "Yeah, I like that song, but we need more furniture." And I had the same expression. I was like, "Furniture?" He said, "What makes a good song is that level of description. You don't say in the chair is where you sat. You say in that chair in the corner, or you say in that brown wicker chair where you sat with your feet." You know, you go into it, you describe, you paint the picture for the listener to hear and see in their head. So he starts pulling out tricks like that. And even Rich, who's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do it." And he'll say something that he says is cliche, and I'm over here like, "Now, why didn't I think of that?" So,
Like, if that was cliche, everybody would have said it in this room.
if that was cliche, how did I circumvent cliche? He's like, I'm gonna say it because that would be a mistake. And I'm like, darn. The simple answer is the right answer.
So the album's coming out August 23rd, and to me it's sort of the opposite of what normally when I'm talking to an artist. Normally I'm talking to an artist and it's like they recorded the album 3 years ago, you know, and they've been waiting on it. There's been all these political music moves that they've been trying to get through and jump through these hurdles, but you're getting it out there pretty fast. I'm guessing that's pretty exciting that like you get it out there in literally like, you know, 3/4 of a year or 2/3 of a year.
I'll be honest with you and honest with you. It's terrifying. It's quite actually scary. But the truth is it's something that's, I don't want to say long overdue, but being able to express me is something that's a little bit new in terms of my first EP that I put out in 2017 had 5 songs on it. And then I took those 5 songs and did another 5 songs where I think in the entire thing, 4 of them were my originals out of 10. And 4 or 5. And then this is one where most of these are my originals, where I'm putting a certain piece of me out there. And that's terrifying. You know, you hope, it's like, I hope everybody likes it. I hope people like my music. But at the same time, it's like, hey, ain't nothing to it but to do it. You got to put it out there. You got to go for it. Mm-hmm. Now, timing wise, being able to pump an album out this fast, like you said, is very rare. But having such a collection of musicians and even special guests. You know, it's it's a very rare opportunity where the idea of strike while the iron's hot is the actual correct answer.
Well, you mentioned it a little bit. You mentioned it on "Go Be Free." You said, I mean, the actual title track. It's sort of it's your story, and I'm guessing that's sort of the mentality that you had for the whole album was, now this is me. Was that it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I could say.
Nice.
I mean, whether I'm talking "Go Be Free" or any of the other tracks, it's me. It is pure, unadulterated Sonny.
Nice.
It is just, I put pencil to paper, and I said, hey, what do I want this song to say? What do I want each song to say? What do I want people to hear when they hear me? And what do I want people to think when they think of me? And what do I want people to rock their head to? What do I want people to get into? And putting that onto paper, it's a very sentimental thing to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, if I'm going to do it, it's arrogant to think that you have a second shot to shoot. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to put my all on that. We always say in the Blues Groovers, we always say, leave it all on stage. If I could do that on record, this is exactly what I'm doing right now.
Well, how you mentioned it before, you said, I hope everybody likes it. How do you gauge success with this album? Because I feel like that's always hard. Like, is it critics' reviews? Is it what peers say? Is it how many streams you have? Is it where does the bar for success come? I
had the opportunity to interview when I was a kid. I had the opportunity to interview Alan Chang, who is Michael Bublé's music director, and I asked him about his follower count on Instagram. Because kids ask about this thing. And I said, "Hey, you're one of the few major artists I know who has a realistic following. Can you explain that?" And he broke it down in a way that was pretty cool, where he was saying, well, it's not about following at the end of the day. People who know to call me, those the right people. I hope, like I said, I hope everyone hears it and they're like, man, I love this. I know the truth of life. Not everyone's gonna love what you got. But to gauge my success from this album, I'm gonna look at it the same way Alan Chang looks at it. It's like, hey, people who are gonna like it are gonna like it, and it's gonna be something they really like. The whole album, "Go Be Free." I'm really excited to put "Go Be Free" out on 28th of June, and I think that it's gonna be so awesome just to see people look at it. Just like, hey, I don't need to see that people are streaming it all the time. What I need to see is that people have heard it and heard it for themselves. If people come up and say, hey, I love your song, "Go Be Free." Cool. If they don't, I know that there's probably some kid out there who heard "Go Be Free" and said, man, I want to do that one day. I want to be able to put music out like that one day. And that's all I'm shooting for. Because if I'm planning for me now, that doesn't mean anything. If I'm planning for somebody else 50 years down the line, when Johnny Lang set out to make music, Johnny Lang didn't set out to inspire me. He set out to inspire someone like me. B.B. King did it. He didn't set out to say, I'm going to inspire Kevin Sonny Gullage. No. He was like, I'm going to inspire somebody who needs to hear my music. And somebody who's, and that goes for all of my favorite artists and all the greatest artists of all time. They don't set out to inspire one person. They set out to inspire the person that needs to hear it.
So really, as long as the release comes out, it's successful.
Well, in terms of my personal view, of course. But I mean, in terms of like success, I guess I guess in an industry standpoint, that's different. But however numbers
We don't need to know the industry. That's fine.
exactly, it's like however numbers look. I guess numbers look, but I'll say this: I love the fact that in the world of blues, right now there are a handful of people around my age doing it to this level at least. I'll call out my favorites like Kingfish, Alley Venable. I gotta give my brother DK some props. And there's so many more. And honestly, Marcus King especially, gosh, 29, 28 years old and doing it like that, man, and these are my favorites. I like that I can be put into a number of young people who are trying to keep that world very, very much alive. Blues and whether it's blues as in traditional blues or blues as in contemporary blues or soul, funk, don't matter. It's that truth that I know that I did a job to say, hey, I did my job to keep this alive.
Nice. Well, you've got Kingfish on the album, and like you said, you guys are around the same age. Now, did you meet Kingfish for the album, or did you know him before this?
I wish. Kingfish and I have intertwined in many weird ways, where we were probably in the same place and didn't even know it. It's one of those two guys growing up in the same region. One of the people that Kingfish knew was Vashti Jackson, great blues guitarist. I grew up, my dad was playing for Vashti Jackson, so I was spending time at Mississippi Blues festivals and seeing my dad go to work and all that. Kingfish was probably somewhere out there as a kid. And then now for the album, our schedules were just so, we're grown musicians who are touring and doing stuff. His schedule right now is so crazy, and my schedule right now is just, and he ends up saying, okay, I'll record it when I can, and Kevin will record it when he can. Mm-hmm. And I turned out just to say, wow, Kingfish, not only did he record on the album, but he took the time out of his schedule to record on the album. That's, and I can't express how thankful I am to Kingfish for that. Just because, if we're talking Kevin, Sonny Gullage or Kingfish right now, Kingfish is a huge name. I get talked about, but Kingfish gets talked about, and that means that I take the opportunity to say, like, yo, it's huge that he even gave my music to listen to and then said, hey, yeah, I want to record on this.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. Well now, one last question. If listeners obviously don't have the opportunity to listen to the whole album yet because it's not coming out until the 23rd of August, but if they do, when they have the chance to check it out, if you could only tell them to listen to one song, not saying it's the best song, but you just want them to hear one song, you want them to, get the encapsulation of Sonny, what song would it be?
Encapsulation of Sonny. Gosh. That is the most difficult question that I did not expect today. So please give me three. Please give me three. All right. One.
I'll give you two. We'll have two.
Cool. One, Go Be Free. Like I told you, that's my story. If you want to get to know who Sonny is, Sonny's out of church. Sonny's out of church. Sonny is out of the South. Sonny's out of that background, that New Orleans. Sonny's out of that field. If you want to know what I think, I'd say you should listen to Worried About the Young with Kingfish, because Worried About the Young is the whole reason Kingfish was on this album, is because that song is, I feel, a big part of what we as young blues musicians and young people in general worry about.
Mm-hmm.
We worry about the state of everything around us, the world around us. And a lot of older people, they think, oh, these guys are just worried about living fast and playing music. And no, we have deeper thoughts. We care,
Mm-hmm.
And if my peers who are also my age think they're feeling alone, hey, I don't get that people really care about what we go through. I think that you should listen to. So if I could say 2 instead of 3, go be free, worried about the young.
I like it. And I hate to tell you, listeners, I get a sneak peek, so I've already heard both of them. So I agree. I think both are fantastic. Sonny, we are up against a break, but I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Man, no problem. Thank you so much. This has been quite an honor.
Yeah, listeners, make sure you check out the single Go Be Free and make sure you check out the album on 8/23. Right now, let's take a listen to Go Be Free right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. You just heard Sonny Gullage. My goodness, Mike. He had some good places to eat there. I mean, not surprisingly, you go down to New Orleans, you're gonna have some good places to eat.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I know you didn't. I know you didn't catch that because you weren't involved in the interview, Mike. But the one place he had, the food truck place, Cousin's food truck there, man. Peach cobbler fried chicken.
Wait, what?
Combined. I don't know what the that is, but it sounds awesome. And it's got cobbler in it, Mike. It's got cobbler. It's American. Oh, come on. You know it's going to be good, Mike. You know it's going to be
I don't know about all that.
Oh, man. You can't go wrong with it. But regardless, listeners, you got to check out Sonny. He is just such a talented guy. Got so much good music. He's got his new album coming out. It's going to be fantastic. But we need to move on to the fastest growing segment in the world.
Mike C. Top 3.
Mike, you decided that we should do the 3 top sodas.
See.
And I didn't think this was going to be that hard. But then I realized it sort of was because nothing really pulled itself out in front. I love everything. Like, I will not turn down a soda, Mike. I will now because I'm not trying to kill myself. But, like, back in the day, you could not give me a soft drink that I would not accept. I would accept
for sure.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because my mom wouldn't give us soft drinks at my house. So, like, going to another person's house and them having soft drinks, I was like, yeah! I was just so excited to get one,
Yeah.
But, anywho, so it was a little bit tough for me. And I could have, like, basically every soda could be on my honorable mention. But I just decided to go sans honorable mentions, Mike. I don't have any honorable mentions. Do you have honorable mentions?
I do. We'll wait.
Okay.
We can wait.
We'll wait till the end?
I don't know. I think that these are pretty deep cuts.
We'll wait till the end.
Okay.
We'll wait till the end.
Okay.
My number 3, Mike, this is a curveball. I just love it. It gives me mad nostalgia. And I mean, there's nothing really different about it. It's nostalgia. Clear Pepsi.
Say what? Clear Pepsi. I'd never tried that.
Clear Pepsi, Mike. They came back out with it. They did a reissue like around like I think it's 2016, 2017. They came back out with it, but my God, Mike. I actually did like near the beginning of this show. I opened the show. I remember talking about how Clear Pepsi just blew my mind.
Yeah.
My brother had a party, and because of the party, they got soft drinks for the party, and one of them was Clear Pepsi, and I was just like, oh my God, this is clear, and it tastes like a cola. Are you kidding me?
Huh?
This
They don't still make that, right?
No. But here's the crazy thing, Mike. They do make Coca-Cola Clear, and it's sold in Japan. You can get Coke clear in Japan. They've never introduced it to America. Just all the more reason to go to Japan.
So you could probably order it though.
I would guess.
Yeah,
Get some shipping fees.
I bet it's on Amazon.
Probably pretty expensive. That's probably some.
Everything else is from.
That's some
Asia.
shipping. That's some shipping right there.
I don't care. I'll pay it.
All right, for the love of the show, Coca-Cola Clear, it's happening.
All right, well, we'll see.
Turns out it's like $150 a bottle. You're like, you know what? No, I'm good.
You know what? For one segment, not really.
Mike, your number 3.
My number 3, Cherry Coke. Cherry Coke. And the reason is quite simple. It's just what I get every time I go to a movie theater. I don't know why. It's my go-to is Cherry Coke. It's my wife's go-to as well, so we kind of have that in common, but Cherry Coke and popcorn. And also, I just used to love Cherry Coke back in the day. In middle school, I didn't get any of I got Cherry Coke. That was my... So, Cherry Coke.
Mike, my number 1, Cherry Coke.
Oh, hey, man.
I love Cherry Coke. It's my favorite, man. Like you said, I don't know, I'm not even a huge cherry guy. Honestly, most things cherry I don't like, but the Coke, it just works so well.
Yeah.
And it has more of a sweet taste, and you're just like, ow. I'll tell you, where it really got me, Mike, was Fuddruckers. Me and my family.
Oh my God, I love Fuddruckers.
Right?
Oh,
sadly, they're dwindling, Mike.
Oh, man.
Fuddruckers are getting very small. It's getting hard to find Fuddruckers.
It's not sustainable. I thought that since the beginning.
They went bankrupt. They have a new owner, but regardless, Mike, on long trips, me and my family, that was our go-to. We would stop and find a Fuddruckers wherever we were going. And, I mean, obviously, I don't need to tell you, the burgers at Fuddruckers are the best.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And then on top of it, that was the thing. At their fountain machine, they always had Cherry Coke. And I was just like, I was in heaven, man. The best effing burger, the best tater wedges you've ever had, and a Cherry Coke. And my God, Mike. I loved it. Oh, it was so good. Number 1 for me, Mike. Number 1. Well, now I'll tell you my number 2, since we're on 2. My number 2, Original Coke.
Coke.
Just the straight Coke, man.
Yeah.
Any
specific container?
Mexican? Honestly, this is going to be a hot take. This is going to be a real hot take. But honestly, Fountain. I like the Fountain Coke better than anything. And honestly, I think it's because they sweeten it more. I think it's because it's sweeter than the other ones. Especially, and this is going to be extra skanky, everybody, but especially at Fazoli's.
Okay. Fazoli's. That's really, really specific. I was one of my honorable mentions was McDonald's Fountain Coke.
Yeah. McDonald's is good too. They have
a way of doing it that is like a secret way.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Fazoli's would have a unique way of doing it, but it tasted unique. And I loved it, man.
Some McDonald's worker snuck into Fazoli's. They were like, hey, I know the secret.
And I got to be honest, too. The freestyle Coke machines, I don't like nearly as much as the actual real Fountain
What do you mean, the
Cokes.
ones where there's like 23 flavors and...
1,000. You can put anything on there because they have these weird chip sweetener things, and it literally does come out different tasting. It's not the same, man. It's not the same. But anyways, an original Coke, I think... Honestly, this is going to be crazy too, but I think I'd go can before I go bottle. I think if I'm going in order, it's fountain, can, bottle.
Yeah.
So I love a good can. Good crisp can. You open it up. You, of course, wipe off the can first because there's probably AIDS on it. So
Never did that. Never once, I don't think, did I ever do that.
It's just down in the dirt, and Mike's like, that looks good, and there we go.
I'm a kind of a germ freak, too, and I never thought of, wiping the top of a Coke.
Which, honestly, it doesn't matter. Let's be honest. I'm just being a freak, but it doesn't matter.
But it's a little thing, and it would make me feel a little bit better. Maybe enjoy the Coke a little bit more. But, hey, since I didn't know, it never really made a difference. So
didn't matter. I love Coke, though. Coke, I ride for Coke over Pepsi. I ride for Coke over anything They are the Southern tradition. They are the devil lights of Atlanta. You go into Atlanta and you see that in the skyline, the Coke building in red, and you're just like, my sweet devil is here. Yes. And if you've ever been to the world of Coke, you can get diabetes. Anyways, Mike, you're number 2.
My number 2 is A&W Draft Root Beer.
Oh, you crazy mother effer with a root beer on there. Oh my God. I mean, I'll drink root beer, Mike, but that was one of those that was always last on the options.
Yeah.
Like if I went to somebody's house and they had any other type of soft drink, I'd be like, okay, I'll go with that. Otherwise, I'd be like, I have to go root beer. All right, man. It's just, I don't know, something about the sassafras does not bring me in, Mike.
Yeah.
That's the flavoring. In case listeners didn't know,
I did not
root
know
beer.
that. I didn't know that.
Root beer
I thought
is
that was just a
a
word.
term. Yeah, a term for shenanigans. Sassafras.
Sassafras.
Yeah, no, it's a plant, Mike, and that's the flavoring of root beer is sassafras. So, Mike, you're number 1. As I told you all, real quick, as I told everybody, in case you didn't notice, you didn't catch it, my number 1, Cherry Coke, fantastic. All right, Mike, you're number 1.
Yeah, my number 1, Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
The Taco
Mountain
Bell
Dew
classic.
Baja Blast.
The classic from TB, right there, man.
Yes.
This
is the way. If I'm going to drink 168% of my daily sugar intake, it's going to be via Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
I've done it. I've done it before. I remember clearly, Mike. I had a trip for a conference to San Diego. I got there late, and then I got to my hotel. And I don't know about you, Mike, but this is where the introvert in me comes out. And I got there. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. So I got to the hotel, and I was just like, where do I go eat? I don't know. But I had rented a car. So I was just like, to Taco Bell I go.
Yeah.
And so I went to Taco Bell, and I got Baja Blast Mountain Dew, just the giant whatever 170 ounce that they have.
Yeah.
And I sat in that San Diego hotel, which I was pretty far south in San Diego. So I was like in Chula Vista area. And I just looked over the city, eating my Taco Bell, and I was in heaven, Mike. It was beautiful. And it was partly due to the Baja Blast.
Baja Blast, man. And it comes in a bottle. You know, there's actually an alcohol version of the Baja Blast.
I do know that. Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
fantastic.
I mean, I think that might be the biggest cult classic of like a soft drink. Like people, maybe before that, the Code Red. You know,
Yeah.
people
Honorable mention, Code Red.
People loved Code Red. Oh my
might
God,
get one of those today.
that was the go-to. Now me, I wasn't like. I mean, I drank it. I think honestly, I might even go with just the regular Dew. I might just go with the regular Dew over either of them. I know that's blasphemy for you, but I might just do it. Like I like
Not blasphemy.
now.
Mountain Dew.
I will say too the Mountain Dew, but the original formula, they did that too. They came out with the original formula where they had the little cans with the little hillbilly dude on it. That was just black and white. Oh, I love those.
Oh, wow. I didn't know there was an original formula.
Yeah. Check it out, Mike. Look it up.
Was that the one that eroded your teeth if you left a tooth?
Eroded your teeth, made your wiener small, everything. It was
We got to
great.
get that back on the shelf.
I know. That's why as soon as I saw
I'm sick
it,
of all this enamel.
I was like, I got to get this, man. But anyways, Mike, your
Original formula.
Yeah, your honorable mentions.
Yeah, so McDonald's Coke, like I said, Code Red Mountain Dew, like I said. Also, bottled cream soda. I don't actually know which bottled cream soda I enjoy the most, but just any cream soda is always, to me, fantastic. And then lastly is BJ's Brew House, also draft root beer. Fantastic.
Wow.
I just love draft root beer. But that's it.
Look at you go, man.
Yeah.
Being a draft root beer guy. My goodness.
It's great. I don't know what
My
it is.
goodness.
It's less carbonated. It's a little bit smoother. It's nice.
I like a good
A&W.
kick, man. I like a strong kick, you know. I'm fine with a strong kick. But okay, Mike, we need to get our last birthday suits.
Also, top 3, real quick.
Oh,
Top
yes,
3 next
good
week.
good call. What do you think?
We do the honorable mentions, and I think it throws you off after.
I don't know. It doesn't really. Anything throws me off, Mike. I'm just like, oh, what? Oh, yeah. Anyways, what do we got?
Let's do top 3 Tom Cruise movies, because we had Tom Cruise.
We talked Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I almost had a story about Tom Cruise this week. Apparently, he had bruises and cuts on his knuckles.
Wait, what?
Like they had some shots of him getting out of his helicopter or plane, and he had a bunch of like cuts and bruises. And I was like, probably doing some crazy stunts. He probably was like, hey, in this movie you got to do, jujitsu, and he's over there practicing real deal, just shredding his fist on something. But anywho, top 3 Tom Cruise movies. I know what my number 1 is already.
All right. I have no idea any of them.
I know mine are probably the ones that I choose. People are going to be like, what? It's the stupidest. Yeah, that's right. I went with that one. Anywho, Mike, okay, let's go here. We're going to go with the inventor first. I think you got this one.
All right, cool.
Born on July 10th, 1856 in the Austrian Empire, what is now Croatia, our birthday suit wearer was very good in school, especially science and math. In high school, his teachers thought he was cheating because he did integral calculus in his head, and he didn't need to write down anything, and he could answer all the questions in his head. He ultimately moved to New York, started working with Edison Machine Works, but after a couple of months, quit to focus on his own inventions, and he made his own electric light and manufacturing company with his last name as the company title. Over the next couple of decades, he made several inventions, most importantly, AC power. He also created the radio. He also created an induction motor and many, many more inventions. Despite his amazing creations, he was a extremely weird dude, which we talked about on this show. In his later years, he lived in various hotels of New York, and he had a group of pigeons that were his pets, and some people actually thought he was in love with his pigeons. He passed away at the age of 86, and there is a car company named after him. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Nikola Tesla.
Nikola Tesla is correct. Yes, indeed, man. The old Nikola Tesla. That guy was out there. I mean, it's like we talked about on the show. He had some just crazy inventions, and he could see some things in the future, but he also was just... I mean, I don't know how much ayahuasca he was taking, but it was a lot. That stuff, he was out there, man. He you always it's inevitable. Anytime I read read something new about him, there's something like crazy smart about it, and then also something crazy about his personality that you're just like, wow, what a conundrum.
Yeah.
What a conundrum, man. Okay, happy birthday to Nikola Tesla. We owe you some on some of those inventions. Pretty great.
Yeah, we do.
Mike, here's the next one. Born on July 10th, 1980 in Abilene, Texas. Our birthday suit wearer started singing in church at a young age. She auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club, but ultimately, unlike old Christina and unlike Britney, she didn't make it.
Blam.
She ultimately signed a record with Proclaim Records, which led to a deal with Columbia Records. At a Christmas party in 1998, she met Nick Lachey. They started dating. Her first album was released in 2000, ended up going double platinum. She announced her engagement to Nick Lachey in 2002. They ended up starring in a reality show called The Newlyweds. The show went on for 3 years and made the couple household names. She was known for being that girl that didn't know the difference between chicken and tuna. She ultimately released 7 albums, with the last one being in 2010. Recently, she's enjoyed her time being a mom. She's has 3 children with former NFL player Eric Johnson. Name that birthday suit wearer.
Jessica Simpson.
Jessica Simpson is correct. Nicely done, Mike. 2 for 3. Well done. And if I would have just shown you a picture of Sofia Vergara, you would have got that one too. But
I really think I would have gotten the initials, but it's okay. It's okay.
you do? I don't know.
Maybe I think I would have at least got the Sophia part. I feel
Okay.
like a lot of models are named Sophia. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I would have gone with Sammy. I would have been like, she looks like a Sammy to me. Or Sally. Sally the model. I think we all know those Sally models.
Yeah.
Hot. Hot ladies, those Sal. Anyways, Mike, we need to wrap it up for this week, but we have fantastic shows coming. My goodness, the shows. I am very excited about our guest, Chris Pierce, just a great artist. Then we have the fantastic comedian Morgan J coming on the show. Got several lined up after that. Oh, it's going to be good. But until then, we need to wrap it up. I've been your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey, Maximus, the Verticus, Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zippity-doo-dah.